Hey friends, it's Jonathan and Melissa Helser, and we are coming to the end of 2021, and we're doing a really special podcast to celebrate what we've been working on this year. In this very room, we recorded a brand new album called The Land I'm Livin In, and we've been pouring our heart and soul into this record for the last year. And we're about to release a whole podcast series around this brand new album.
We did it here at this table with our dear friend Chris Miller, who has been on staff with us for over a decade. And we were able to just have conversation, and he asked us questions. And it's honestly one of my favorite podcasts we've ever done because it feels so conversational. And we're excited to actually not just release the music, but actually release our heart behind all of the songs and all of the moments. I love when I get to hear the stories behind the songs. It makes them mean so much more. So at this table, we just spend so much time talking about the songs and our heart behind them. And we filmed all these podcasts. It's really different.
So you can go to our Cageless Birds YouTube channel to see all the podcasts if you're just listening and you want to see them, or look in the show notes to find links to watch these. And one of the most exciting things about this podcast is you're going to get to hear some of the new album. We have coming up are 3 samples from the album. This album was recorded over 3 days, and you're going to get to hear 3 tracks, just little peeks of each of the songs. So we hope you guys really enjoy this podcast series and these conversations that we've been having. Be looking for them over the next couple months. Thank you guys for listening.
Thank you.
All right, so we're here in Sophia, North Carolina, on the beautiful 52 acres of A Place for the Heart, and it's the end of another year, 2021.
We made it.
We surely did. And it has been a really beautiful year for our whole community. We just finished our 14th, 18th Journey School, and we're well into the second decade of leading discipleship schools.
It's amazing.
And although that was a lot that we did this year, there's something else that you guys have been working on, working very hard on. And if you're following us on social media, you've seen some little hints, some photographs. You know something's coming, but you probably don't know what. But today, we want to give you some context for what is coming. What have you guys been working on in 2021?
Are you pregnant?
Oh my God! No, I'm not pregnant.
Yes, no.
We've not been working on a baby, but a musical baby. Starting last January. We embarked on recording a new album.
And not going somewhere else to record the album, but filming and recording the album here, where we're pouring our heart and soul.
It's been 6 years.
Come on.
Since we've
That's right.
done a project, just the two of us.
We've done the Cageless Birds.
The Cageless Birds and
been a part of some Bethel albums.
For Bethel.
Raise a Hallelujah. That
Raise
happened in these 6 years.
That's right. Which was a beautiful, beautiful song. So, we've had some moments that have been really amazing. But as far as embarking on the journey of an album of the two of us, the last one would have been Beautiful Surrender. Which released in 2015. So it's been a big undertaking, but really, really beautiful.
So how many songs might be on this new album?
Well, it's 11 written songs, but there's lots of spontaneous moments. So I think there's actually 14 tracks.
Come on.
And then 11 songs that we've been writing. So in some ways it feels like we've been working on the album longer than this year, because we've been compiling these songs over the last few years.
That's true.
But it was this year we hit record and captured the album.
It's 11 amazing songs. I think being able to stop and look back at the trajectory, I think it's a lot of fun to just see like the span of how you write music and like your own journey with God and with people, and like where are you in your process of how you're writing. And I think this one is really different for us than Beautiful Surrender and even the albums before. I think this feels the most pastoral, discipleship driven.
Wow.
I think when I look back and I'm like, even my personal trajectory of writing has been really different than Jonathan's. And I just love coming into this album feels really different. Where before there was so much of my personal process, because I really started writing music when I was really sick in my 20s as just a form of like getting out some of the anguish and the frustration and the disappointment to the Lord. And I was telling someone recently that you can pray a prayer once, but you can sing a song over and over and over again. And that brought tremendous relief. And so I think over the trajectory, like a lot of, like Catch the Wind would be a great one. Like so deeply connected to like my personal process with Jesus. And I'm so grateful for that. But coming into this album was really different for me. Because the Lord, when I just sat with the Lord, I'm like, Lord, what's on your heart for this album? And the Lord really asked me, what do you want a generation to sing?
Come on.
And I was like, wow, I don't know. Like, that's a really good question. Like, I love when the Lord asks good questions. And so that really, I think, set me in and both of us, on what do we want a generation to sing? And we've done, 14 years of the discipleship school, but 20 years of camps and with high school kids.
That's right.
And teenagers and early 20s and all the way through 30s. And if we were writing songs to give to the people we're leading, what would be like the driving force of that, And so I feel really excited about when I look at like the 11 songs as a collection. It feels not only pastoral, but it's like so true to our journey with fear and doubt and disappointment and, but really what we're fighting for ourselves and for our kids and then for a generation. Does that make sense?
So, it does. Yeah. So your first album came out in 2005.
Yes.
The Awakening. For those that have been following along, they would know that.
Wow.
Yeah.
For you, Jonathan, what would you say feels unique about this set of songs, this specific album going into this moment?
Yeah. I feel that. I feel the history of the years of leadership and discipleship. And the pastoral presence. I love even that image of David like singing to his sheep out in the fields and them like knowing his voice. And I feel that trust that we've built over 16 years with those that listen to our music and that they want to know what we're hearing from the Lord. I remember when we met at a worship school and in this worship school, it was like every Friday night when we came in for class, songwriters were writing new songs. And I'll never forget like being led by Don Potter and Leonard Jones and these just incredible worship leaders. And every Friday when I come into class, I'm like, did they write something new? Because I long to know the way they were seeing God. Like, how were they discovering God? And now that we've been doing this for...
And that would have been the late 90s.
Yeah, late 90s, And now I feel that beautiful, gift and privilege that we have, that a generation's like, what are Jonathan and Melissa seeing? What side of God's face? What are they hearing from God?
Good.
So I feel the gift that we're giving in these 11 songs. This is who God has been for us these last few years. And we want to lead you into this.
Come on.
So I feel that beautiful authority in the album, and that we recorded it here on the land where we've been over 21 years we've been married, 22 years we've been on this land pouring our heart and soul. So the songs just bleed our hearts because it's here on this land.
Well, and we haven't done a live album since 2005. So since the Awakening, we've done again some live singles. But we haven't done a whole live album. And so I think it was cool because last fall, we got some just really simple recordings back from some of the new songs we were just trying out. And in this room, in our barn, and with our students, and they were wild and very raw and very rough. And
because this is the room that you lead worship in.
This is the room.
The school.
And there's lots of YouTube videos, just raw videos of us leading in this room with the school.
With the school and our community, and so, but we got back one of the songs that's on the album from last fall. We were just trying them out, and we were driving in the car, and we were both like, oh my gosh, this is so true to who we are. We spend the most time in this room with these people, with students, with we don't spend the most amount of time in arenas or on tours or, even in larger church buildings. Like, we spend the most time leading worship in this room. And it felt like, oh my gosh, like this is so... We were so moved by the sound of the students in the room. I mean, we were just so like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Maybe this is what we want to do, And then the next thought was like, we can't do an actual album in that room. Like, it's not built. Like, this room is not built for recording an album. Like, it's metal ceilings and concrete floors. I mean, we didn't build it to do a live worship album. We built it. We call it affectionately the Art Barn. Like, it's our biggest space for the schools that we do teachings and worship in, but we definitely have hopes to build a worship barn later that's built for music. Acoustically designed with wood, and this is not that building,
Because when we do worship at the school, we'll have a pretty broken down band. The drummers a lot of times not playing with sticks unless we're like really going for it. And so everyone's holding back a little bit because this room just is like...
It can get chaos
loud
in a second.
It can get really loud.
Right. But I think we were just like, we don't actually know if it will work from an engineering standpoint and a sound process. But I think, we're in our 40s. So I think some of that, we would rather take the risk on our authenticity and actually who we are before the Lord and in this community.
That's right.
Like, at the end of the day, we've made the amazing albums in studios, and we've done that. And I think we were just like, we really started praying that the Lord would bring a producer, engineers that were like, we can pull this off, because I think at that point, you get to a certain point in your journey, or at least we have, I'll just speak for us, where right now we just crave something really true. Like, more than anything, I want people to be able to hear what is so true to us.
The authenticity.
And I think that word gets used a lot. Like, what's authentic? I'm like, but I do think the older you get, like, it takes life to realize what is authentic. Time, like seasons of like, I tried that and it was beautiful, but I don't know that I would do that again. And I think that's actually really beautiful. It's part of the process of maturing and growing, and like being able to take risk and try things and make, decisions later on in your life that are different, you know? And so I think for us, we're just like, man, what do we actually want to do? And I think like we'd rather take the risk on how it sounds and actually stay true to who we are right now in this season.
That makes sense.
We've been married almost 22 years. And I'm like, the fruit of our life is discipleship. We've given year after year after year to pouring ourselves into a generation, and our music is so tethered to that, and so I think rather even than doing like renting an amazing space or an amazing theater, which we love because we do stuff in those places all the time, we're like, what if we actually just did it really, really true to what we've actually cultivated, which is right here on the land. So that felt really risky because the building is just not, it's so wild. It can get really wild in here from a sonic standpoint, but so beautiful. And we made the decision, like, who do we want to invite? Like, we could invite a lot of different people. We have a lot of amazing friends that are worship leaders, and we could really access whoever we wanted to be in the room. And
because it was gonna be live.
Because it's gonna be live, and it's, how do we want to do it? And I think the more we thought about it, I actually remember the meeting we decided what we were going to do. We were at this table, but it was at the other end. Do you remember? And
Oh,
we're
yeah.
like, who do we want?
Yeah.
And I'm like, what if we just actually invited alumni back to the farm, like just students, like not everyone, but what if we just invite students from every year and we just have like 50, I think is where we landed, 50, 60.
Plus like 40 of our community.
Plus the 40 of alumni that are actually here on staff. Fill the room pretty quick. And then we just started writing down names and like the joy. Do you remember? You were in that meeting.
Yes, I was there.
The joy of the Lord just started, and this pressure, this weight started lifting when we all started thinking about those people being in the room.
And the recall of like,
oh my God,
the history, the moments.
Yes.
Choruses, prophetic moments that happen.
Prophetic moments that were actually born that became songs that are on this album.
Yeah, that's right.
Like,
Man.
and I just remember the like rush of joy. Like, oh my gosh. Okay, when I think about walking down from my house into this room full of students that we have laid our life down for, like I feel an overwhelming joy. Like there's nothing truer that we could actually give the world than to be in a room with young adults that we've led. 20 to 30-year-olds, you know, and it was the best decision we could have made. And I think too, it's like, there's a part of us that unless you're in the school, you don't really see. Like, that's very true. Like, there's a very, very specific part of Jonathan and I that we reserve for that 2 months, that 6 months that we're leading students. And because it's 24/7, it's a ton of work, you know? And even going in, I'm like, okay, we're going to get in the room. Like, this is going to be a really different part of our leadership. Even the way we lead worship is really different because it's not just like a 25-year-old in the room. It's like a 25-year-old that you're leading, you're seeing every day at every meal for 2 months, 6 months. And it's like, wow, like this is different. You have history with these people. And I think the first night we were in here,
I remember.
Oh man, we all got settled, and I just looked around the room and I was like, oh Jesus, thank you for leading us in this direction. And I literally I just was thinking about the history I had with every single person in the room. And I'm like, this is so unique and sacred. And I felt like we're about to spend 3 days. So we took 3 days, 3 separate days to record it. So we wouldn't be in a hurry. Yeah. We'd have plenty of time to do whatever we wanted to do. We didn't, gloss ourselves up. We just kind of wore normal clothes and just wanted to just walk down from our house and just walk into the space that we've cultivated.
Yeah, that's right.
And there was an ease and a joy that's, I look back now with just like, oh, I'm so grateful. Yeah. I'm just really grateful that in our 40s, we were able to actually do something that is so true to who we are in our 99% of our life. Because you don't always get that. That's right. Especially like we have 2 parts of us. It's just discipleship, community that we lead. And then there's like the worship leaders that travel and tour and do all this stuff.
Yeah,
and I think,
around the world.
Yeah. And so trying to connect those for people is not easy. No, sure. Most people think we live in California but really we've been really fighting for that connection so that people can even understand our tone. Yeah. There is a different tone because of what we've said yes to, and it's not better or worse, it's just really different. Yeah. So
good.
Yeah.
I feel the risk in that though.
Super risky.
Because it would be safer to just go to a space where it's going to sound great. Right. There are a lot of like kind of borders and things in place to help guide the sound, but you're talking about a room that sounds wild. Yeah. Wild. And then just bringing people, it's live. Yeah. And then on the you mentioned, I love that you mentioned not being in a hurry and taking time, because I'm looking back at the track listing for this upcoming album, and I'm seeing songs that are 23 minutes long. Actually, more than 23 minutes long. Yeah. I'm seeing songs that are 17 minutes long. Yeah. I'm seeing what it looks like moments attached to songs. Yeah.
You better get ready.
And I'm like, if you've been, for anyone who's listening or watching that's been tracking, whether it was since 2005 with the Awakening or the reward sessions.
It's true.
Endless Ocean, Bottomless Sea.
Yes.
I'm you would be familiar with leaving space.
We like to call them extended versions.
Extended versions, yes. And just that's the spontaneity of moments that mark some of your earlier albums, but really mark the way you lead worship.
Yeah.
Whether you're in Germany or Kentucky or right here in this room. That's not new, but that's very different to do an album like that. Even now, that's very different. I was curious if you'd be willing to speak to the reason you decided to leave space like that, because it does feel risky. And it does feel true. Yeah. But I think there are people even maybe who are just tuning in or have just heard a song from you both, and maybe they're unfamiliar with spontaneous moments. Yeah. Leaving room. Yeah. I'd love to hear you speak to that.
Yeah. Well, we say in our community a lot that spontaneity is the reward of preparation. And when it comes to songwriting and worship and music, for me, my favorite moments are those moments where you leave the written song behind. Yeah. And you begin to sing the song of the moment, the song that's on your heart. Yeah. And there's vulnerability, and there's risk in it, but you're actually you're leaving behind what you know to go into the unknown and discover more. And back in the 90s, when we fell in love and we were falling in love with Jesus, there were these records that came out, Morning Star, Kevin Prosh. There were these albums that they would leave the written song behind, and they would have these moments. And I would sometimes just fast forward to those moments, because it was just for me, I discovered something in those moments of the presence of the Lord that transcended just the written song. Yeah. And so we left space on this record. And that is the beautiful part of streaming now, because we would have had to press 3 CDs to get this whole thing onto one package. It would have been a triple disc record. Yeah. But with streaming, you can put as long of a record up as you want. Which is really beautiful.
It's really beautiful.
And that's what happens in this room. I mean, we've had nights at our school. We'll have maybe 5 songs on our set list for a 2-hour worship night, because we have a worship night. Usually it's Thursday nights in our school, where the whole night we just move everything out of the room and we just waste the whole evening worshiping the Lord. And we've had some of those nights that we get to 2 out of the 5 songs. And for 2 hours, we'll do 2 songs. Now, it's not just singing, verse 1 100 times. Right. It's like the preparation of that written song becomes a diving board into a moment with God.
Come on.
Yeah. Yeah. I think too, what makes it unique is you do really have to have musicians that are excellent in their craft. And I think it's something to say about the people that we chose to play with us, which a lot of them have been playing with us for some time. Molly, Skaggs, Luke, Jake. Yeah. But to have people, because it's not just me and Jonathan making stuff up or you're not making stuff up, it's just singing spontaneously over and over and over. It is the where is the music taking us? And we set up in the round, in a circle in the middle of this room, mostly because we wanted to be able to see each other, so that we could communicate in process. Yeah. And I one of my favorite things about, the first song that leads off, "I'm Your Beloved," is just how quickly you get pulled into the musicians. All of us are riding the wave of what God is doing in the moment.
That's right.
And there's a tremendous amount of trust that requires. Oh man. For one another, and the willingness to step out on the water, and when a song is ending, to keep playing. And I think I think it's a beautiful tension, because we love crafting songs, but we also love pastoring people into waiting on the Lord.
Come on.
We create all this, we're not here to sing song after song after song after song. We're here, let's even stop and just take in what we just sang. Yep. How does that actually make you feel in the presence of God? And so I think that's been a very true part of how we were we were discipled in worship, and then the space that we've been able to create with people. And I do think the most important part of spontaneous extended stuff is trust.
That's right.
Come on.
You have to have a tremendous amount of trust. And I was thinking about Carrie and Cody just did an album that's like over 2 hours. And they did a lot of their pre-production here at the farm. And it was really beautiful. She has built so much trust.
Yeah, it's true.
With her audience of just showing up year after year after year after year. And loving really hard and being really present. To then, like now, like in the later part of her career, be able to give a 2-hour experience. You know what I mean? And I'm like, oh, I love that, because it actually is so much about trust.
Yes.
People trust her to take them into a new place that is brand new in the moment. Where do we want to go? And so I feel, I mean, we've been doing that a really long time, but to do it in a live setting at this point in our 40s, like, feels exciting to just like, we've led people in a lot of different places, you know, from the Raise a Hallelujahs and the No Longer Slaves. And, you know, I mean, even those moments you look back and a lot of people think that the middle part of No Longer Slaves, I am surrounded, you know, was written, you know, that was part, it wasn't.
I think people sing it like that. Like
they do. It's like, I remember the first time we were at a place and those words came up on the screen and we're like, oh, they're singing the spontaneous part. Okay, that's awesome. But it was like, oh, this is amazing, because in a very low stakes, like, we're just teaching people to walk a little deeper into the water. And that moment, teaching people, like, that moment was, every time we did a take of No Longer Slaves, it was different.
Wow.
So, you know, that one was uniquely that. Like, he sang that in the moment, and it was completely spontaneous in that moment. And now it's actually a living, breathing part of this song. And which it doesn't always happen, but when it does, it's pretty awesome. But this album is full of those moments of just like our band, all of us, just like, you wait. Usually you give the offering of the song, and if you wait just a little bit, God responds.
Come on.
That's right.
And it's like those moments where he rushes in and his presence fills the room, and you're like, we're not leading anymore. The presence of God is leading.
Come on.
Do we have the, you know, maturity to just be in his presence and to wait on him? And I think one thing that we've really pressed into is like to honor the Lord with our patience.
That's right.
When we're in his presence, and to not get ahead of him, and to not make our song like the most important thing, but like that he would rush in and respond to the songs. And I feel the like, can we give God an offering, and then can we actually let him respond? And I think this, in reflection, like, this is the truest offering that we have given the Lord.
Resonates.
And to have even the community, and then those musicians that some of them we've been playing with for a really long time. For all of us to be able to give that offering to the Lord at the same moment, and then wait on the Lord. You know, I mean, the 23-minute opener, I'm Your Beloved, it's like, you're going to see us waiting on the Lord, because he is worthy of us just sitting in the moment.
That's right. Come on.
He's worthy of the Selah.
Yes.
And then he's going to like lead us into another place. It's like, I think we do long to disciple and lead people into that patience before, in the presence of God. We don't come to just get, like, give me another song, give me another message, give me we come to be with Jesus, and to let him fill, and fill the room and fill our hearts, and then let him lead us into something that's brand new for just that moment. It's irreplaceable, really. Like, you do all the work to craft, and then it's like, what does God want to do today? Like, where does he want to take us? And and I think
meeting place.
And I love that this album, more than any other album, just it has space to just like how we've all learned to wait on the Lord.
That's right.
Does that make sense? Like how we've all practiced like waiting on the Lord, and like If we get to the 5th song, fine. But if we don't, it doesn't actually matter. Because our set list doesn't actually matter. People getting wrecked by the presence of Jesus is what matters.
Yeah. Right. Come on.
You know, and
come on.
We have to keep laying down our agenda.
Wow.
And that was fun. Wow. That was fun to even do that with like the producers, and to just like, this is what it's going to look like.
Yeah.
Like,
even that risk. But then it feels, I'm just hearing this theme of like, this is a meeting place.
Right.
Because we've cultivated being a meeting place.
Yes,
and as a band, we've cultivated being a meeting place together.
Yes.
And then I hear the context of the invitation to former students, alumni of these discipleship schools, which are very small. Yeah. But these are people who have said, I will learn to wait on the Lord. And so then in that context, I'm just seeing the room full of people.
Yeah.
And the sound of a room full of people who have said, we will wait on the Lord together.
Yes.
That's really special.
Yeah.
Like this being a meeting place and us all being a part of that.
Yeah.
As opposed to like, we're just bringing people in who could sing the words.
Absolutely.
We've cultivated this together.
Yeah, and I think that's what made it so special to have the students in the room, because that's a very normal rhythm for us. And I think too, if I'm reflecting back, like in our early years, we really craved the moment. And there was something like magical and electric about the moment of spontaneity.
Wow.
And I think now, I feel like, and you might have a different thought or to add to this, but I think now, like, I think why I even got somewhat emotional is because, like, now I actually really crave the presence of God, like, more than I want like a moment that's like electric and like, oh, that was so amazing. Like, what I really want is like to feel that when God overtakes a space. And do I have the maturity and sensitivity to let him overwhelm a space and overwhelm hearts, and even as pastors and leaders, like, do I have the trust with God to let him lead a space? And I think that is a growth chart for us. Like, if you're looking at what you say, like, if you're even from the awakening to now, 2005 to now, like, when you see, when you make the little charts or you make the marks,
tick marks,
little tick marks, like, I feel like that is a tick mark that, and one of the main reasons why we wanted to do it here, because this is the garden that we've cultivated, and this is the soil that we've been tending to, and it's what you grow is valuable, but how you tend to the soil is the most important thing. And I think for us, it was like, we've given our life to this soil, and, and to like fostering the presence of the Lord and making a space where God feels like himself and he's welcome to do whatever he wants to do. And it's not void of our leadership, but it's the partnership of maturity where we get to partner with God. Wouldn't you say? There's like that growth chart is pretty major.
Yes, it's huge.
Yeah. And I feel that our patience, how we've grown in patience in these spontaneous moments, I feel that like we've grown. We're not nearly as quick to like, let's just get into a moment that feels really great. Like, do we know how to wait on the Lord?
That's right.
Wow, that's beautiful. It feels like if we're going to talk this much about the music, we might need to share. Just some sneak peeks of what's coming. Peeks. And we do have a little treat for the listeners today, because we are going to share not one, not two, but you guys brought 3 clips from the album. And you mentioned earlier that the album was recorded over 3 days.
Right.
How does that connect to the songs that we're going to hear some of today?
Yeah, well, one thing we want to do, because it's just so much incredible music is coming out these days. Like, every time I jump on Spotify, I'm like, oh, another album's out. is we are going to release the album. It's going to be one beautiful container it all goes into, called The Land I'm Living In.
Okay, album title?
Yeah, that's the album title, The Land I'm Living In. But we're going to release it in stages. So we're going to release night 1, January 21st.
Yep.
And give everyone 3 weeks to enjoy night 1. Now, night 1 is still almost an hour long.
Ooh.
It's 5 songs.
But almost an hour long.
Yes, an hour long. And then we'll release night 2 3 weeks later, and release night 3 3 weeks after that. So then by March 4th, all 14 songs will be in one beautiful album called The Land I'm Living In. But they're going to come out in those 3 stages. So we want to play a track from each night today and let you guys hear just a little sample of each night.
Yeah. And we really did the 3 days because we wanted to be patient. And about a year and a half ago, the Lord really spoke to me. Actually, maybe it was more like 2.5. All the years, especially with COVID, kind of blended together. But it would have been 2.5 because it was before Revivals in the Air. And I was really seeking the Lord about the coming year of music and stuff. And the Lord really spoke to me. One of the most beautiful times He's spoken to me and said, Melissa, we're never making music and anxiety again. And I was like, okay. And I felt the Lord like really invite me to yield my anxiety over recording music, and is it enough, and is it cool enough, and does it sound good enough, and all of this stuff, and just that anxiety of proving and wanting to be enough. And it was really, I told you just that same day, it was a relinquishing of anxiety. Like, how are we going to actually make music in peace? And that was a very much like one of the words that the Lord really anchored even coming into this album. It was for Revivals in the Air. For that recording of that song, but also coming into this album, we just kept coming back to like, how can we do this without any anxiety?
That's right.
Which is hard to do when you're putting yourself out there and you're creating a lot. And so part of doing the 3 days was like, we just want to be able to take our time, and we don't want to rush through it. And if there's technical difficulties, it's not a big deal. But trying to get alumni and a lot of people here for 3 solid days was not easy. It was a feat, but it was amazing. So the 3 days they were really beautiful and very unique and sacred to to themselves.
Exactly.
So, but very intentionally placed for the preservation of peace. And patience.
Come on.
Yeah.
Well, should we dive into something from night 1?
Yes,
okay.
Come on.
All right, so we're going to play a clip from the first song, which we said was over 23 minutes. We're not going to play, but a fraction. It looks like we have we're going to listen to 2 minutes of the opening track from night 1.
This is I'm Your Beloved.
accusation and I've heard the propaganda. I've heard the lies they whisper to my soul, that I have been forsaken and I'll always be forgotten. No matter what I do, it's not enough. And then I heard a voice as it opened up the heavens, reminding me of who I've always been. I am your
Ooh!
Oh, the intro.
Just getting started.
It's the best intro on the whole
Yes.
album.
Who's playing that delightful guitar?
Well, it's a dance between Jake and then Luke, but that intro, the delay is Jake, and then that's Luke playing that lead line. It's just it's so tender and strong, and you just it sets the table. Yeah, so special. Yeah, I think if No Longer Slaves was written in the school in like 2011. And that's been such an anthem of our school. I think if there could another song could like sum up what the 18-inch journey is, it would be this song, I'm Your Beloved.
Wow, come on.
And it's, in this room over and over and over again, I've seen sons and daughters have that collision with the affirmation of a father. When they look into his eyes and he sees that they see him looking in their eyes, I love you for who you are, not what you do, not what you've done, and not what you'll ever do, but I love you for who you are. You are my beloved. I've engraved your name on my hands. And watching them have that moment with the Father in this room. We have this moment in our school multiple times where students will stand up on a chair and declare, this is who God says I am. There's a specific day where this happens. And like when we were singing that in this room, that part, I am your beloved, the one the Father loves, it felt like we were all just up on we didn't actually stand on the chairs during the recording of it, but
it felt like
in the spirit, it felt like we were standing on our chairs and making the declaration. So, and then it goes on for another 22 minutes.
But I love that. I mean, you were talking so much about what's authentic or what's true, what's a true expression. And what I'm hearing you say is that this really does capture the heartbeat of even why you do discipleship and why you pour your lives into this. And there's nothing more true than the sound of a heartbeat. That you can't deny that. So I feel the excitement for even people to experience this one song of the album, and of course it's just the beginning.
And it's why we chose to open the album with that, because it's just like this is so much the essence of who we are.
Come on.
Beautiful. Funny enough, I mean, you started writing it. Well, you had some parts, and then you had a moment with Brandon Lake.
On this song.
On this song. And they worked on it a little bit. But that same weekend that you worked on it some with Brandon, he had ended up telling us this story of how he first encountered us at like Morning Star. And
Brandon did.
Brandon Lake, when he was like in junior high.
I didn't realize we were like maybe 12 years older than Brandon.
And so, but he was like, I had to tell you this story.
We're in our mid-20s. He's in junior high.
He's in junior high. And he's getting like wrecked by I Have Risen, which is like one of the most intense, like, raw songs.
Perfect for Brandon.
Some of you know.
Perfect for Brandon. And he was just like recounting this like moment we had where he watched a video of us doing it live in Charlotte. And just how incredible, how moved he was, and just even his journey, which I thought was so amazing, because like he had been tracking with our music for a really long time. And so he had context for so much of the journey and the trajectory of even how Jonathan writes and the Father's heart and everything. So it was kind of amazing for y'all to sit down and...
It was really special to write it with him.
Really special to write.
And I wrote it on him in a writing retreat that was over 3 days. And we had all been scheduled with different people throughout the whole retreat. And me and him were doing the last session. And so at the beginning of the retreat, he comes up to me. He's like, I can't believe we get to write together today. He's like, I never told you this, but like I've loved you and Melissa's music for a long time.
That's special.
He's like, I feel like I'm writing with one of my heroes. And I was like, okay. He's like, but would you just over the next 3 days, before we get together, would you just ask the Lord, like, for one word from the next season of my life? Like, what's one word that you feel like the Father's saying for me for this next season of my life? And so I just kind of tucked that away, and over the next few days I was praying. And every time I was like, Lord, what are you saying about Brandon? I just kept hearing the Lord saying, he needs to know that he's my beloved. he's my beloved son. He's my, in the same way David like had it deep in his bones that he was the beloved. He could stand in front of a giant and not be fazed because he knew who the Father said he was.
Yeah.
It's like, I just felt the Father say, Brandon needs to know that he's the beloved. Come on. So we get together, and it's like the end of the retreat. We're both exhausted. We've been writing for like 3 days. And you were supposed to be in the writing session, and you're like, can I just, you and Brandon do this together. And so we drive over, we meet, and I just begin to share with him like about him being the beloved. He's like, that's exactly what I need to hear. And as I'm sharing it with him, I remember an old voice memo I had from like 4 months ago that I had started writing this song about. I've heard the accusation, I've heard the propaganda, I've heard the lies they whispered to my soul.
Come on.
Very rough voice memo. And I was like, let me play you this voice memo about a song I was thinking about writing about
right on your
being
phone.
the beloved. Yeah. Play it for him. He's like, we have to chase that right now. 2 hours later, we walked out with the verse, the chorus, and the bridge. We wrote the second verse later. But it was such a beautiful moment with me and him, and just that him knowing that he's the beloved, you know, and that would be my dream, that everyone who hears this song would walk away from it knowing like, I'm the beloved, I'm the beloved, because there's so many accusations, there's so many lies the enemy's hurling at all of us right now, but there's a voice that's louder than the thunder saying, you're my beloved.
Yeah, so good.
Yeah.
Whew.
So good.
So much more to come from that.
Yes.
Well, should we dive into another song?
Yeah.
So that was from day one, night one. But you have 2 other clips. And we're going to get into something from night 2, which people won't hear for a little while.
February 11th.
February 11th, so 3 weeks after day one. But it feels good to give a little sneak peek.
Yep.
And this is from a song called I Can't Get Away.
Yes.
I'm going to hit play.
Very excited.
You see my mess, all my mistakes, and you love me still. And though I may waver, I am convinced that you never change.
There she go.
Ooh, who was that?
Who was that?
It's Naomi from Maverick City. She's a boss.
Yes, she is.
She is a boss.
Man, that is like a teaser of teasers for that song.
It's true.
Yep.
Where did that song, this little snippet of where that song came from?
So the chorus, you love me when I'm up, you love me when I'm down,
Yes.
was a spontaneous moment that happened during the school in 2019.
Yep.
And interestingly enough, that year I had taken a break from leading worship and had gone into just a bit of a time of focusing on my health and really addressing to some of the stuff that's happening with the disease I have. And so it turned into a bit of a pretty tough year of just doing a lot of treatments and it was funny because we actually released Raise the Hallelujah, and then I took a break from leading worship.
I remember.
I didn't really, I think I didn't lead the song. We didn't lead it together till like maybe 6 or 7 months after we launched
after
it.
we released it.
After
So
we released
wild.
it. And so that's fun. Like the chorus of that was the spontaneous moment. The first time I led worship was at the school that year. And
Right in here.
Right in
wasn't it?
here
Yeah.
in the round. And that was one of the first things I had really sang spontaneously in a really long time. And which feels very just true to the consistency of God.
Yeah.
And so I kind of tucked it away. I'm like, man, we actually posted it because I think that you got a clip of it.
No, it's on the YouTube.
Yes.
On the YouTube.
I remember it.
Yeah, you got a clip of it, and we're like, this is really special. And so we have been kind of like, who should we invite into this? And at that same writing retreat,
Which is how we write a lot of songs.
We do.
A lot of times we'll have like a spontaneous moment, and then we'll leave, and we're like, that moment we had could become a song.
That's right.
Yeah,
And we just hold it and tuck it like, whoa. And you can feel it. A lot of times, like there's the spontaneous moments that, like, you know, you'll sing out and it just sits in the room and the presence of God comes and it's like you're just receiving it. And then there's the ones where like everyone starts singing immediately, right? And you're like,
That
whoa.
was one of those moments.
Yeah.
That was most definitely one of those moments. We're like, whoa, okay, we need to write this. And so we just tucked it away and we brought it out here and there, but just really thinking it through, like where do we want to sit with it. And before that retreat, I had been sitting in Psalm 139. And I had just been, from the Passion Translation, really just ruminating on this. Lord, you know everything there is to know about me. You perceive every moment of my heart and soul. You understand my every thought before it even enters my mind. You are so intimately aware of me. You read my heart like an open book, and you know all the words I'm about to speak before I even start a sentence. You know every step I take before my journey begins. You've gone into my future to prepare the way, and in kindness you follow behind me to spare me from the harm of my past. With your hand of love upon my life, you impart blessing to me. This is just too wonderful, deep, and incomprehensible. Your understanding of me brings wonder and strength. Where could I go from your spirit? Where could I run and hide from your face? If I go up to heaven, you're there. If I go down to the realm of the dead, you're there too. If I fly with wings into the shining dawn, you're there. If I fly into the radiant sunset, you're there waiting. Wherever I go, your hand will guide me. Your strength will empower me. It is impossible to disappear from you or to ask the darkness to hide me, for your presence is everywhere, bringing light into my night. And I just been like really sitting in Psalm 139 and like, oh, this, like, how can we actually just write this, you know? And we initially started writing it with Corey Asbury. We had a lot of fun. Like he was like, I love this. Like, and we were just like, you know, kind of searching for that. But that was where we wrote even the first verse. Like,
verse 1.
Oh, wow. Where can I run? Like just that feeling, that like pulse. There's just a lot of joy when we write with Corey. It's so much joy.
Come on.
And he brings a ton of like just joy. I mean, there's really no other word to describe it. And then the next day we had a session with Naomi, and which we were really excited. We hadn't really spent time with her yet, and we sat down and we showed her 2 songs. And we were like, this is when I started writing a long time ago. We opened up with Corey yesterday, and she's like, oh my gosh, we have to work on this, which was so awesome. And we just got into it. And it was honestly, again, just the joy of the Lord came. And we read Psalm 139 and just like,
wow,
you are there, you know? And then she just brought that, like, we were working on a bridge, but she just brought a different kind of thing, you know? And she's like, no, she's pacing around the room. She's like, no, it needs to, you know? And we're like, okay, see, now we would never have sang it like that. And she was just fun. And then after we got done working on it, which we did a lot, I think we got almost done with it. And we were like buzzing. And we were walking out of the room to go to lunch, and she was like, if you want me to come when y'all record this, I would love to. And I was like, that would be incredible. And so we asked her, and she came, and it it was honestly really amazing because when she carries such a mothering heart.
Oh,
Yeah.
And when she came to the land and we walked her around, everything we talked about was like, how do we help a generation know they can't outrun the love of God? And to stop running and to give in. We were like revelating, like, Mama Bear, how do we help these people, you know? And it was just so cool. So when she came into the space and we tracked it, it was just like, okay, like there was so much authority. I love the moments we get to lead with other people, but that was we had never led worship together until we recorded this song.
Oh wow, because you wrote together.
We wrote it together with Jonathan and Court, and then we led it together for the first time when we recorded it.
More risk.
But I'm like, I was like, I want to do this with Naomi because when I was with her in that little room writing, when we were with her, like we knew she was a friend of God.
That's right.
And the trust was automatically there. And I'm like, this woman loves Jesus. Yeah. And we absolutely, like, I want to record this with her because she has such a deep mothering heart. Yeah. And so when we tracked it and she was in the room, it's just like she had always been here. Like
it felt like
oh,
that.
It did. It was, and she remarked after, it's just like, man, the all those students, everyone in there, like they just followed me wherever I went, you know. And we actually did 2 takes of this song, and both of them were like 35 minutes long. So we had to like
choose one,
and then like how do we condense? Because we both were just in the zone. I mean, we were in the mothering a generation zone, and it was really, really incredible actually. And I'm just excited for people to sit in it because I have so much respect for Naomi, and I have a lot of honor and respect for what Maverick's doing, and to have, you know, one of theirs like just with us, and I know there's so much mutual respect, so it was really really special. And y'all are gonna love all of the little nuggets in it because there's a part at the end of it that actually both takes Luke went into some violin stuff, and it was really incredible to watch Naomi respond to this kind of not a pristine fiddle playing, but like, I mean, violin playing, but like more fiddle, which is what Luke would do with his roots and bluegrass and all of it. Like he just brought this fiddle plucking, like rhythmic stuff, and it just something in Naomi just woke up. And we also talked about that afterwards. She's like, that was crazy. Just that she felt so responsive to the music and to what was spontaneously happening in the moment. But we chose take 1 because the end of it was so sacred. Like it like I prayed, and then Luke was plucking, and then she just started singing from just the mothering heart of God, the parent God, and it was, everyone was crying in the room. I mean, it was just so stunning. So it's pretty awesome. I'm really, really stoked at how it landed. So, yeah. Oh, it's exciting.
I mean, you're gonna have to wait a little bit
to
hear
that. It's terrible.
If you're listening, just receive the gift of now, and just it's coming. It's coming.
It's coming.
And of course, I think you said this, but it's not just audio. This entire album,
I know.
It's been filmed.
It's been filmed. We've never done anything like it.
Oh yeah, so that's coming.
It's very exciting.
Should we listen to one more?
Yeah,
you guys brought not 1, not 2, but 3. Yeah. So this song is called "Without Caution," and it would be from day 3.
Yeah, day 3. Yeah.
And this would come out
March 4th.
So we're getting a real sneak peek on this one. All right, I'm gonna cue this one up.
This one gets so rowdy at the
wow.
end too. Yeah.
It feels like it's about to ramp up.
Yeah, it gets so rowdy.
So Without Caution.
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about that song, a little sneak peek.
Yeah. I think for years we've been so inspired by the story of the woman that breaks the bottle of perfume that says it's worth a year's wages, and she wastes everything at Jesus' feet. For years, that story, as worship leaders, as leaders, has provoked us, inspired us, challenged us, and so a lot of the theme of the song, Without Caution, I'm going to waste my life on you. No more limits on my love. Without caution, I come. And I love that. So, that's a wild, extravagant worship moment. And I think if you listen through our records, you'll see moments where we sang lines like that.
Yeah,
I remember
absolutely.
the Walk Through the Walls album, like, I'm going to waste it all on you, Lord. There's moments in that.
Yeah.
But the chorus of the song was born on vacation. And I love, it was our staff beach trip vacation. We take our staff every year to the beach, and we were going to the Outer Banks, and it was the year of COVID, 2020, and our first beach trip got canceled because it was like our beach trip was planned in April, and it was when everything shut down. They shut down the beaches. We couldn't go, and we're like devastated. All 40 of us go to the beach, pack into a house for a week, and it's amazing, and we're just like, man, we lost our beach trip, and miraculously, it got redeemed. The lady who owns the house said, I want to give you guys the last week in May. The beaches reopened. And that vacation just felt like a serious detachment from the stress of the world. Like to unplug and go to the beach in the middle of COVID and to all be together like that. Because we had all been separated and like to all be together. And so we pack up, we're headed down. It's a 5-hour drive to the Outer Banks from here. And my daughter, Haven, loves surfing. And so she's devastated that we couldn't do the first beach trip. And now that it's gotten redeemed, she's just like, as soon as we get to the beach, she's like, Daddy, I want to go surfing. Like, we have to get in the water. And so we get all the stuff unpacked. She gets her board. They're still unpacking groceries. She's like, we got to go right now, And so, like, and it's we throw our suits on, we run down, and there was just this feeling of like fully immersing ourselves in the vacation moment as we begin to get into the water. I felt like I'm fully giving into this moment. Yeah. And as soon as I got in the water with Haven, I could just feel the stress being detoxed out of my body.
Wow.
As I got in the water with her, and it's her childlike abandonment to fully without reservation. Like I'm running into the ocean full speed ahead. I want to have all this moment has for me. And as I get into the water, without thinking, I start singing. I give you my heart. Wow. I give you my hands. I give you my soul, all that I am. And it was like I was saying, I want to fully give myself to this rest and the gift of this week. Yeah. And I want to fully give myself to this moment. Watching my daughter fully give herself to that moment of surfing. Yes. I want to come and give everything to you. And for 30 minutes, she's catching our first few waves, and I'm just singing that chorus over and over again. Now, and I'm not trying to write a song. I'm just trying to give my whole heart to the Lord. Right. I give you my heart. I give you my hands. I give you my soul, all I am. I give you my praise. I sing you my song without caution. I give you all my love.
All these lyrics are just coming out.
Just in the ocean. And then I go back and I'm like, I should probably voice memo that. That is probably a chorus for something. But that moment was, just so special to me. And then me and Melissa wrote the song around that theme. And then I love Melissa takes the bridge and just no more limits on my love. Without caution, I will come. And then this is the part where I love making music with a team, because the producers heard something on this a chord that I wouldn't have gone to. I don't know for all you musicians heard, we went to the song, we went to a 7 chord, and but when we were in pre-production, David Leonard, who produced the album, I'm playing it for him the first time, and he just like closes his eyes and he's like, man, I just keep hearing Hey Jude. Like it needs to have that rowdy Hey Jude moment that the Beatles had. It's like, what if we like put a 7 chord in there? And we were like, I don't know. We've never we haven't really done that in our music. And he's like, what if in the bridge it just drops into that, you know? And then he's like, man, I just see like all the students just singing, like going into this thing, and like the whole album ends with all of them in the center of the room just singing this. And this is like months before we recorded it, and I'm like, I don't know if this song would do that.
Right.
And he totally prophesied the moment, because this is how the album ends. And you guys are gonna have to wait, but there's some amazing footage where we just have this moment, like I ran into the ocean with Haven, where it's just like we all just run in the center of the room, and it's this moment of fully giving ourselves into it.
Yeah.
And it gets rowdy and wild, and it's got a little bit of a Beatles feel. There's definitely a Ringo Starr drum feel at one point that Al pulls out. That's just so great. Wow.
So good.
Yeah.
Oh man, thank you for sharing these samples.
Yeah. You got 6 minutes.
Yes.
Of 2 hours. 2 hours and 12 minutes is coming your way very soon.
Just a fraction of what's to come.
Yeah.
There's so much we can explore in this album, the stories behind the songs. And we are going to do more of that in some upcoming podcasts.
That's right.
We have actually several podcasts coming out. This is just kind of to whet the appetite for those of you watching and listening. One question, just to kind of, we'll hit it with 2 questions to end. The first would be, I just feel where so much has happened since the last album. Mm-hmm. Like there's been songs along the way. You talked about Revivals in the Air. That was such a beautiful moment for our community. Mm-hmm. These songs have carried so much, and they've traveled the globe. Like people were singing Raise a Hallelujah in a church somewhere right now. It's happening. But 6 years, you mentioned, since Beautiful Surrender. So like this is such a collection of songs. Yep. And so much has happened in the world since that time. Mm-hmm. There's themes we've talked about here at the table today that feel really potent, and we've only scratched the surface of what these songs carry and what's on this album. If we were to even just kind of kick off this next series of episodes, what would you say your heart for the body of Christ globally, like your heart for the body of Christ is as they begin to hear these songs from day 1 to day 3, but even just from the first chorus of I'm Your Beloved, what would you say your heart for the body of Christ would be in hearing this album?
I love that question.
Wow. Well, we get hundreds of emails. You know this.
I do know this. I do know this.
Of so many people who want to come do this school.
Yeah, that's true.
What makes this school so special is that it is small batch discipleship.
Yeah.
Jesus only had a few that he poured into.
Yeah.
Now those few went and changed the whole world. But it made it family, it made it community, it made it small and intimate.
Yeah.
And I don't ever see this school with thousands and thousands of people. But part of the gift of this album is we wanted the world to experience what we've experienced over and over again on these floors and in this room, is the way the presence of Jesus walks into this room and changes our stories forever. So for me, it would be like come into the living room with us and experience what we've experienced at these schools, and what we've experienced in this community, to experience that presence of the Lord, and to enjoy the waiting moments, to like, okay, I have 22 minutes for I'm Your Beloved. And like to in those waiting Selah moments where the musicians are just playing and there's no lyrics, that you would begin to find your own song. My dream is that the same way when I was a 19-year-old kid with my Walkman cassette and I'm listening to Kevin Prosh, and for the first, I'll never forget, he had a song, the spontaneous song, I really love you. And I remember just singing that with all of my heart, and it waking up a song inside of me.
Come on, Jonathan.
I know I'm writing music because of that cassette tape and listening to that moment. The well-worn path that Kevin pioneered opened up a wardrobe for me to discover a whole world of music.
Yeah.
And my dream would be that the young people that they won't listen to this on a Walkman, but that it would our songs would lead them to write their songs.
Come on, that's beautiful.
That's
beautiful.
I think the more I've really just sat in this season that we're in, you know, I think globally, the season that we're in, you know, over 2 decades of marriage and being in our 40s, I think more than anything, what I've learned is to really trust the Lord and to trust the Lord with my life, my heart, my intention, like to really give him my trust as a gift and to see where that trust takes us. And I think when I have sat in these songs, because we've listened to them a lot in the last bit, I feel the place where we have fought to trust the Lord. And I feel the declaration that is in them. And I think my hope is that I think we all are leaning into one another, right? I think the 2020, the COVID year was like, man, we never needed each other more.
Right, yeah.
And we never needed to lean on one another's strengths more.
Yeah.
And to actually like drink in when we're feeling depleted, to actually lean into our brothers and sisters in Christ and community. And so I think for me, like what I really want for the body of Christ is, I mean, we fought really hard to trust the Lord, you know, through suffering and through, you know, my disease and leading a community and leading schools and like being faithful to the little. And I think I feel proud of the places where like when I hear this album, I hear it's really rooted in trust.
Yeah.
And rooted in really true statements. You know, like it's like without caution, I'm coming. Like that is a true statement that we have practiced with each other, with our family, with our community, with students. Like, so I think it really is like just this offering of like, we really do trust the Lord.
Yeah.
And my hope is that it gives people melody and language. I love the spontaneous moments. I love because it's when even the musicians and the leaders like kind of bypass that thinking, and it's just like you're in the moment, and like what's coming out is that like that beautiful, like what is happening right now. And that thing that you refer to often of Kevin Prosh, is like you can tell that he's bypassed his thinking, and it's just like, oh, I'm just gonna tell the Lord I love him. That's right. And then you return to that because it's so living, right? And so I think just giving people a broader experience feels really exciting.
Come on.
Yeah.
And giving them lingering time. And I think if anything, we've all stepped back and like reflected on our life and our choices and how busy we always stay, and do we make time for God? And so I'm hoping that even the length of it and the breadth of it gives people permission to really give time to their adoration to Jesus, and that they would learn to trust, that they would borrow even some of our language that we've cultivated with the Lord, and just like with the Raise a Hallelujahs, and that I'm no longer a slave to fear, like that they would, like a whole generation is singing that because we fought to sing it.
Yeah, it's
and
true.
That's very humbling and exciting. So, yeah, it's good.
I hear an invitation to wait on the Lord.
Yeah.
That's right.
Even in this time, like
Yes.
throughout the release of this. Well, for those who want to follow along the journey as we dive into this album, what would be the best ways for people to connect and follow along? We have Facebook.
Yeah.
We have Instagram, YouTube.
Yeah. It's going to roll out. Like, it's going to start. You're going to be seeing a lot of us in the next 3 months, more than you would normally encounter us. We're pretty quiet on the socials. But you're going to be hearing a lot from us, which is exciting. And on the Bethel platform, the Bethel Music platform, and the Cageless Birds platform, our platform, we really do want to pull people into the journey of it.
Yes.
Yeah,
And
come on.
we really want to share our heart and not just throw 2 hours of music out there. We really want to take people on the journey. So it'll start rolling out, beginning of January. We're going to start talking about it a lot.
Yeah.
And so it's exciting. I love that we're releasing it spread out.
Yeah.
And just giving people
Time.
space and time, and not expecting. We don't want to expect you to digest 2 hours and 11 minutes, all of it at the same
That's
time.
right.
And we
That's
also
right.
don't want songs and moments to get lost, because I think that's really easy to do right now.
Yeah.
And we actually, our heart is to really respect the listener.
Yeah. Come on.
And give them space and time to really sit with it. So the videos will roll out slowly.
It's exciting.
The music will roll out slowly, and we just want it to really be bathed in patience and peace. So
Yeah, we'll have lots of links on all the podcasts, and however you're watching this, there'll be links you can find.
Yes, I love it. So follow Jonathan and Melissa on Instagram. Look for Cageless Birds on YouTube. Bethel Music. Follow those channels. There's going to be so much goodness coming your way. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you, Jonathan and Melissa, for your time.
So fun.
And for the gift of sneak peeks
Yes.
of
Sneak
all
peeks.
3 parts of the album.
Let's go.
Can't wait for you guys to hear the whole thing.
It's very exciting.
Coming your way soon.
See you in the next one.